How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the nighttime edition of Kayal Podcast Home. Going to keep things relatively quick today, just because I don't want to be shooting pitch black. So, I feel like I should start with the passing of Stan Lee. I'm going to do a video that's a little bit more in depth on my thoughts on Stan Lee's life. Let me first just say, for the record, outright, without Stan Lee, we have less of the comics that we have today. Marvel Comics, as we know it, doesn't exist. The possibility that comics ends up like it did in the Philippines is a strong possibility. Maybe we would have ended up like Japan, but I highly doubt that. Maybe we would have ended up like France, but I highly doubt that. France is a much smaller community than America, and they, to my knowledge, did not have the setbacks culturally that Americans had. So, without Stan Lee, I don't think everyone's the fan that they are today of comics. And it was a real shame that in the last years of his life that there were these controversies going on about how he was being treated. And I'm not going to get into it here, but there's a couple things I want to say out loud because I feel like Stan Lee was a good person. Ultimately, he was a good guy, but there were certain things that that mattered to the fans now, but we have to keep in mind that there was Stan Lee, the character that we all saw, and then there was Stan Lee, the guy who really was. And I don't know Stan Lee. I never knew him. I never met him. I had opportunities, but I just never committed to him, I guess. And I have one Stan Lee story in that I almost saw him. I'll tell that in the other video. But it's just it sucks because the dude was an icon, and without him, I don't have like the enjoyment that I have in certain books. I haven't read it. I'm trying to track down like a cheap way to read them, but the Stan and Jack run on Fantastic Four is probably one of the greatest things he's written, and he had Jack Kirby there, so there's no way that could be any kind of wrong. But the one thing that I know I've read, and that I will swear up and down that this is something everyone should read at least once, is the Stan and lead Steve Ditko run on Spider-Man. The first 40 or so issues with the first annual, that is comic storytelling that, to me, is still unrivaled in modern comics. I like to read the conclusion of what was being built up in the regular series, in the annual versus the Sinister Six. Oh my god. So I'm gonna miss the fact that that there's no more there's no next time. There's no possibility that I could ever meet Stan Lee now. But the amazing thing about Stan Lee was that without meeting people, by putting himself up front with his creations, with selling himself as a character and having a voice in comics and in the stuff that he did and appearing in the movies. There was a time before I knew who Stan Lee was, but there has never been a time that Stan Lee has not been like a factor in the things that I enjoy. So that is one hell of an accomplishment. So I'm gonna have another video that like states my total feelings or whatever. It's not gonna be a in memoriam or whatever, but it's just gonna be like a like there's gonna be there was a couple people out there that there were a few, but they are out there that were salty about some of the things that Stan Lee did as a publisher, as a businessman back in the day, and I feel like I don't want to defend it, but I want to just say for the record what I think it was, because certain things like I'm not an expert on. I wasn't there. I've only read a handful of accounts of things that had happened, and I'll get into that more with another video, which will not be shot in this car. So some things that real quick I've been into. I watched the Hunter x Hunter anime from, I want to say 2011. I know there was a like an earlier one, early 2000s. I don't think I'm watching that one just because the one I'm watching I think has that many more episodes, and the it's good, but I don't know. I haven't read the book, so I can't really say whether or not like I'm a fan and I want to keep watching. However, it's really hard to put it into a category, because there's definitely arcs. Each arc has its own point. They're not necessarily like battle arcs, because when I think of like other shows, there's definitely more action going on, and I think this one could be compared to One Piece in the sense that it started at the same time. However, because the creator had health issues that sidelined him for long periods of time, the number of chapters, the number of episodes of the show is so it's like less than half of One Piece, even though it's been going for about 20 years now. But it follows a boy named Gon, and he's out to find his father, who he's never met, but he wants to be a hunter, and he has this like indomitable spirit. He's got this great physical ability, and I'm just at the part where they're going to Killua's house, and I'm just going to cover right up to the tournament of the hunter exam. And supposedly there's more to the hunter exam than what they're dealing with, but I haven't gotten there yet. So anyway, the reverse tournament arc, which was I think like 3 episodes altogether, but the show is clearly good because it's about problem solving, it's about friendship, it's about it's not about having an adventure particularly. It's about for the most part getting a job and like you're kind of introduced to the characters, and you kind of realize what their goals are. Gon wants to become a hunter so that he can meet his dad and all that, and then Karupka, Blondie, wants revenge for the people that killed his family. Leorio wants to make money so that he can become a doctor and help people, I guess. And there's a lot of humor in this. There's a lot. It's really hard to put it into a box. However, the one box that it definitely fits into perfectly is shonen. Like this is definitely, like, I'm not saying aimed at boys, but it's that boys stories, if you could call that. Like, I'm not saying that girls wouldn't be appreciated. It's like guys can appreciate shoujo and women can appreciate shonen, but it's just like, it's like guy stuff. We're gonna get into fights. We're gonna go over there. We're gonna dig stuff up. We're gonna like do stunts, and I don't know like how long the first season is, but I will say the score for the show is annoying as hell. I mean, I don't know if it's like a 2000s thing or I'm just not like hip with it from 10 years ago, but the score of Hunter x Hunter is so heavy-handed and repetitive, and it's like, oh, things are going and what I do like about it is, like, each character, for the most part, like, you can tell who the good, not the good, but the main characters are gonna be. Like Leorio, Kapruka, butchering his name right now, Gon, Killua, like, they are like they're four friends, and they're presented with challenges, so they got to work together. And then you get these guys that are like the rookie stomper in the exam, the ninja, which, by the way, the creator of Hunter x Hunter is also the creator of Yu Yu Hakusho, which, by the way, there's certain shows that get me back into anime. Like, when I first started watching anime, it was Ronin Warriors. Ronin Warriors, at 5 in the morning on Channel 11 would play, and then that got replaced by Dragon Ball Z, which got replaced by, which followed, I think, or came on before, maybe, Sailor Moon. So for that hour before school, I would be watching Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, and before that, Ronin Warriors. So I can honestly say Ronin Warriors was the first one that got me into anime, but I didn't even know what the hell anime was. So then years later, I'm watching Adult Swim, or not Adult Swim, I think it was Toonami, maybe. It was like one of those midnight anime showings on Cartoon Network. And it's late night, and Yu Yu Hakusho comes on, and it's the first episode of Yu Yu Hakusho where the guy's a delinquent, he's a loudmouth, wears green, and then gets killed, but he becomes a spirit. And I think the point where, like, that's interesting, but when he meets what's her name, Bokan? meets the girl that's supposed to be the Grim Reaper, and then he goes to his mom's house, and he sees his own funeral, and he sees his own mom crying over him, and she had shown, like, very little motherly stuff earlier in the episode, but just the little bit of humor where Yusuke gets flustered when, like, everyone else would have been better off without him, and then he sees his mom crying. Like, that got me into that show. I had to watch what happened with that show just because it was that interesting. Then, like, there's other shows that got me back into anime, like Kill la Kill got me back into anime, because I wasn't really watching shows. Like, I would buy a box set of DVDs. Back in the day, I would save up, or I would wait for that one sale where used videos at Suncoast or FYE or the video store were half off, and like if I saw a series I wanted to watch, like, and I would go just on the descriptions of all the DVD sets and the box cover art. So, because I was such a Yu Yu Hakusho fan, because I watched, I want to say every episode of Yu Yu Hakusho. I don't own it on DVD, but I do believe I've watched it. Pretty much all of them. So, I'm going to end this up real quick, because now it's starting to get dark. I'm pretty sure no one can see me right now. Hunter x Hunter ends on maybe one of the like most kick in the nuts tournament arcs for like the Hunter exam. The idea is like the winner becomes a hunter, and but the loser goes to the next bracket, and that was just like. And then it starts with Gon. It starts with Gon versus the ninja guy, who looks just like the ninja guy from Yu Yu Hakusho. So, hopefully, like they use him for more than like one arc. So, it ends with Gon like outlasting the ninja guy, just in the sense that like he was getting his ass kicked. It's just that there was nothing the ninja guy could do that would have made Gon quit. So he gave up trying to break Gon. And then afterwards, like the whole thing that sets up the going to Killua's house. So I recommend it for anime fans. However, there is something to be said about just watching anime straight up, in that it's good, but it's not ideal. Like for me, it's the bad version of like a Christopher Nolan, like score moves things along, and the characters aren't like sphinxes. Like you kind of understand, you kind of like get why they are, but at the clip it moves through, and I don't know how much it's going to return to characters, because there was definitely Easter eggs there was seeds being planted all over the place, and my problem is, like, I've yet to get to the point where I know what this show is about. He wants to become a hunter, so when he becomes a hunter, what is he going to do? And I'm not there yet in the story. And at 20-something episodes, you really do hope that they have an idea what they're doing, what they're building towards. So, all right, guys. Click like, subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Peace.